introduction to music theory. I'm talking just about the concepts that can come in handy to sound and music computing. So, yes? I will make it available, right, Professor? I will send the slides to you and then... Okay, first, Prof, do you have a presenter by any chance so that I don't have to come here and click it?
I'm sorry?
A USB presenter, do you have?
Oh, you mean you can control remote?
Yeah.
I cannot take it back.
Okay, perfect. So I need to come here and click this thing. So first, a couple of things about myself. This is my full name, Mihai Cosareanu. I was born in Romania in 1992 in a small city, about 40,000 people, but with some musical activity. So I started playing drums at the age of 5 because my dad was a guitar player and he took me with him at the rehearsals. And while the breaks, in the breaks, I looked at the drums and was so amazed about all these little metal things moving and stuff. So I liked the idea and I tried to learn to play drums. But it wasn't quite a professional thing, so I just banged at them. Then when the high school came, I started a small band, and after playing in it a while, I thought, well, I want something more than rhythm to see what's with all these notes and black things on the scores and stuff. So I tried to learn to play the guitar. And because the musical scene is not doing so great and the business is kind of clogged up right now, and I can't make a very good living of this, the second best thing that I could do was computer science. So I got a bachelor's degree in computer science in supposedly the best faculty in Romania, but that's not so great, so don't think it's... Okay, so what do I want to convey in this lesson? What are the objectives? First of all, I want you to understand the basics of music theory that may come in handy because, well, I will explain that as I go on. The basics of music theory useful in music computing, and how the artists or the musicians handle these blocks, these building blocks of music, to convey the purpose of the song, okay? So in order to figure that out, we need to answer a small question. Why do we listen to music? Right? In order to do anything to music, we need to know the purpose of music, and then see how can we construct it to give it that purpose, and then how can we analyze it, right? So, why do we listen to music? Well, we listen for dancing. We listen when we exercise, right? We listen when we want to relax. We listen when we are learning. But we can generalize that, okay? So, music puts us in the mood to dance, in the mood to exercise, okay? So, we can use it. A good generalization would be mood changing, okay? Music changes our moods. It can make us happy, sad. It can help us when we are sad. So now let's see what are the building blocks of music and how artists fiddle with them so that they convey the purpose of one song, okay? These are the building blocks of music. You don't need to read all this list. This is what I will be talking about today. This is what I have time to talk about today, because obviously it's a bad thing to put somebody who loves music to talk about music because he never stops. So, okay, first of all, a beat. What is a beat? The beat is the basic unit of time, okay? The pulse that regularly repeats in a certain section of the song, okay? This is a beat, right? We usually tap our foot to it, but don't rely on this rule to identify the beat of a song. Because if the pulse is too fast, then our feet will be tapping just what we perceive as being strong beats, the most important parts of the rhythm. We'll talk about that later when I have a short example. So tempo, what is tempo? Tempo is the speed, okay? How many beats per minute in that pulse, right? This is a metronome, the instrument that gives us a steady tempo. We can set the speed. So an example of a rhythm played at fast tempo. Okay? And the same rhythm played at slower tempo. Now, I put this little question there. What does each of them express? Mainly, what can we use fast tempos for and slow tempos? We can use fast tempos for energetic music, for music that gets us motivated, And we can use slow tempos for relaxing, for a thoughtful story, right? For some a sad story. So let's keep that in mind and then talk about rhythm. What rhythm is the pattern of notes or drums played over that beat. So we have the beat, and what we play over that beat, okay, the pattern of the drums, that is called the rhythm. Now that's important because usually people screw things up and they say, this music has got a good beat or this music has got a good rhythm. When they say it's got a good rhythm, they mainly refer to that beat, you know, because it's, I don't know, it's a perfect beat for them in that mood that they are, you know, and it goes well and they say rhythm, but that's not the rhythm. So let me give you an example of some rhythms. Rock rhythm. Okay, very steady beat and somehow powerful. Blues rhythm. Much more relaxed and slower. And of course, house rhythm. Now, why did I choose this example, the third example, house rhythm? Because the first rhythm, rock, can be used for songs that make you feel energetic, happy, and all that. Blues can be is used to make you feel like sad and to listen to a story. But house rhythm has a pure functional thing. It makes you dance, and that's all. It has no emotion conveying, okay? Now, I don't say that that's bad. It's just a different purpose, so we need to keep these purposes in mind. Now, what is meter? Meter is just grouping the beats into repetitive groups called measures, okay? Measures or bars. This comes from the score. I won't be talking today about the score because we are not interested in sound and music computing about the score, right? So, the meter is expressed by two numbers, okay? We say a song is in 4/4. What does that mean? Well, the first number is how many notes are in a measure, how many notes are in a measure on that score. And the second number is what type of notes. Now, we don't we aren't interested in what type of notes are in the score because we are not interested in the score, but it matters how many notes. It usually means how many beats are in a measure. Now, let me give you some examples because it's a tough thing to just talk about. So, for example, a song, One Republic, Counting Stars. Now, what will we do? Let's identify the beat, okay, the pulse of the song. Let's see then, where do we feel that it repeats? And then count the number of the beats in that repetition group, right? So, okay, that's the pulse. Now let's see where it repeats. Okay, now the tempo gets a little bit faster. Okay, so can you feel that it repeats here? Now let's count. How many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So this 1, 2, 3, 4 means that we have 4 notes, okay, in a repeating group. Now let me give you another example. This is a song from a video game that I particularly love. It's Final Fantasy VIII. It's a waltz. Let's identify the beat and the repeating group, okay? Now, where does it repeat? Okay, so how many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So this is in 3/4. Now, is everybody here? Does everybody here agree with me? It makes sense for you? Okay, so let me give you an odd example now. Do you know this guy, Dave Brubeck?
Yeah.
Now I'll talk a little about strong beats after that. So let's identify the beat. Now where does it repeat? And how many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? So this is in 5/4. Now, about this example, because this is too fast, okay? I mean, it's a little bit fast. What our feet may tend to do is tap only on the. Let me play that again. tap only on the what we perceive strong beats, like that. And we may say, this is the beat of the song. But this does not regularly repeat because it does not have equal spaces, okay? So we need to divide that and to find a lower one, a faster one. So this is the pulse. That's what I was saying about in the beat thing. So we can't rely on our foot, because if we're too lazy to tap the beat, then we will tap only these two and say, oh yeah, this is the beat of the song. And it's not, because it does not regularly repeat. Okay. So as we can see, the brain, if I teach you how to count the rhythm, you can get it for yourself, right? But for computers, it's very hard to do, because you cannot rely on, let's say, the most energetic part of the song and then wait for that to repeat, because it may not be true, okay? So why does it matter? Well, if we are able to develop some clever algorithms that identify meter, we can classify songs, we can predict more correctly a genre. For example, the waltz, the second example that I've shown to you, that is meant to be in 3/4 because it's a song for a typical type of dance that has 3 steps, and I don't know about the dance, but it needs to be in 3/4. Now, if the meter does not stay the same throughout the song, it is called a progressive music, right? A progressive song. So we can take advantage of this if we are able to identify it. So now I've talked about the foundation, well, what I call the rhythmic base, okay, with 4 terms. Let's get into some pitches. I'm sure most of you can tell what a pitch is, but it's very hard to define. I've put it simple like that. Pitch is the human perception of a frequency, but that is not true and is incomplete. Basically, when we hear a pitch, we hear a series of frequencies that are related in a mathematical way, okay? I'm going to talk about that later. Now, to prove the perception of the pitch for everybody, I think it's very simple. I will play 2 notes and then repeat it for the ones that didn't listen to them for the first time, and then I will ask a short, simple question. And again. Now, which one is higher? Who among you think the first one is higher? Raise your hand. Good. So all of you had musical ears, right? So we can tell the difference between 2 pitches, right? And we can hum these notes. This is important. Now let's see what timbre is. Timbre is what enables us to tell musical instruments apart, okay? What's the difference between guitar and piano when they're playing the same note, right? When you answer the phone and you see an unknown number and you hear your mother's voice, that's what you identify, the timbre. Now let's see what it is made up of. First of all, no natural instrument produces sine waves. So when you play a note that specifies a fundamental frequency, let's say A440, right? It does not play just the 440. And I will prove that in a second. What we hear is the fundamental frequency plus what is called overtones or harmonics, okay? Now, for us to be able to perceive the pitch, these overtones need to be related. More specifically, they need to be integer multiples of the fundamental frequency, right? So when we hear a note for 440 played by a string instrument, for example, we will hear 440 multiplied by 2, by 3, by 4 in different levels, okay, in different quantities. Now let me prove that for you. We have here a note, 2 octaves down, okay, A2, 110 hertz. Let's see how just the sine wave sounds. Now you haven't heard any instrument that sounds like that, right? And it's very boring and not interesting. We can see here on the spectrum, okay, we have frequency and amplitude. We have just 1 peak and 110 hertz. So let's see how the same note on a guitar sounds like. Okay, it's the same note. It has the same fundamental frequency. But as we can see here, we have 220, 330, and so on, okay? A lot of peaks with different levels, okay, to each of them. Now, let's see what's the difference between a guitar and the piano. Okay, this is the same note played on a piano. Now, why are these 2 different, okay? What's the difference between guitar and piano? Well, if we look at these small levels here, okay, we can call that a contour or spectrum envelope, okay? We can draw this contour. And for example, if we look at the fourth peak here, at the relative level from these three, we will see that in the guitar one, God, a presenter would be very useful. We can see that in the guitar one, this is much more higher, okay? So we are able to tell apart this contour, this shape of the spectrum, okay? Now, a couple of things about timbre. The same instrument can offer multiple timbres, right? Through a lot of switches, or in case of electric guitar, as you saw in the recording studio, through processing and stuff. And another important component is the level envelope. So not just the spectrum envelope, not just the contour of the spectrum. When you import a note, okay, into Audacity or whatever you use to view some files, you will see the waveform, right? And one note is usually composed of these four main parts. Attack, which is the time till the sound gets to the maximum point, and that, for example, for a keyboard, when you hit the key, that hammer hits the string and produces a very loud sound for a very short period of time, okay? Until the sound is loudest, this is called the attack. Then the piano player holds down the key and the sound decays, okay? Decays till when we hear only the sustaining part, the string, the note, okay? Now after the piano player lifts his finger off the key, then it comes silence, and the difference between the time difference between sustain and silence is the release time. So these four parameters are very useful in identifying the timbre of an instrument. So the timbre, we can say that is composed of spectrum envelope and level envelope. Is that clear enough? Good. Now comes the question, why do we call some instruments percussive? Why? Well, let's listen to this sound. This is a snare drum sound. Okay, let's listen to that again and again. Can anybody in this room hum that sound for me? Please hum the fundamental pitch of it. We cannot, because as we can see here, these peaks are so tiny and unrelated, okay? The energy is spread across the spectrum, so we cannot identify, let's say, this pitch, which we can think of it as being the fundamental pitch of the snare drum, right? So that's why we call them percussive, because they do not have these peaks in a related way, they have the energy spread, okay? That's the difference between percussive and musical sounds. So we've talked about pitch, we've talked about timbre, now let's get into the music part. Intervals. What an interval is just the difference between two pitches, okay? The semitone is the smallest interval used in music that we listen to. We call that Western music, okay? So let me prove that you have a perception of pitch again, mostly of intervals, right? I will play two sets of notes, okay? So two intervals, basically, and you will need to figure out which one is higher, which one is larger. Now, who amongst you think that the first interval is larger than the second one? Good, a lot of you. So we can identify the intervals using our ear, right? So in music, these intervals, the number of semitones between these pitches have specific names. Now, you don't need to remember these names. You just need to know that they exist because you may come across them, okay? So these are the names for the number of the intervals between the two notes. Now, this table stops at 12. Does anybody know about that? Well, of course, music players know about that. That is an octave. Now, why does the octave have something special so that music ends at the octave? I just ended the table at the octave. Why? Let's see what octave means. An octave is the interval between the pitch, right, and another one that has the fundamental frequency double or half, okay? Now, why is that? Why is this so special? I mean, we just multiplied it by 2, and it's basically another note, right? But our brain somehow feels this as being a consonant sound. If you play a pitch at an octave, it has the same musical function. Let me prove that through an example, okay? I will play a bass note, then a short melody, and the short melody will be repeated at the octave, okay? So maybe you will understand why this is relevant. Now, those of you who cannot hum the higher part of melody, you will hum it down, okay? Dum, ba, 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 ba. And that works. Your brain thinks, oh yeah, I'm singing very great, right? So the octave has this interesting property, okay? So we can say that we stop at the octave and we get higher in frequency, we basically repeat these pitches. So what are notes? Notes are just name of specific pitches. And since we have the octave that is repeating them, we can consider just 12 semitones in an octave, and we put 12 notes, and then we repeat them, okay? 12 names. Let's see what those names are. Now we have 12 note names. We can see that some of them are more important somehow, okay? C, D, E, F, G, A, B. Why is that? Historical reasons. These black keys are named in relationship with the white keys, and a sharp sign means up a semitone, a flat sign means down a semitone. So the correct order of the semitones, so ascending by frequency, is this: C, C sharp, D, D sharp, okay? So because of these two signs, the black keys have two names. You can name this C sharp or D flat, okay? So these are the 12 names of the notes that we're dealing with. So if those are all the notes, what is with the long 88 key piano that you see everybody? When it has the hands apart, he's a really good piano player, right? We basically take this building block and repeat it at the octave, right? And that's all that a piano is. So you learn 12 and then you move your hand and do amazing stuff. So you can see here the frequencies, for example. I've added here the numbers of the octave that note is in, okay? So 6 means C from the 6th octave and 7 from the 7th octave. You can see here is 1046.5, and here is double the frequency, okay? 2000, and that's true for every note. So this is the mapping of some piano keys to the frequency, to the fundamental frequencies. Okay, so we know what notes are. Was that complicated? For those who didn't know what notes are, it's that simple. We just name some fundamental frequencies and then repeat them over a piano, and we call ourselves musicians. So now let's talk about scales, because here is where the interesting part of music comes in. A scale is just a set of musical notes that we usually express ascending by pitch and within an octave, okay? Because we can repeat them, obviously. So I will play for you some notes in a sequence, first ascending and then descending, to see what is the feeling that certain scales provide us, okay? That they can make us feel some interesting stuff. For example, C major scale. Let's listen to this one. Right? It's a nice scale. It gives nice feelings, kind of positive, motivating, right? Let's listen to another one, C minor scale. Whoa. Now this is a little bit sad, a little bit tensed, right? It feels like it has some tension in it. Now let's listen to another one. I've chosen smaller notes to exemplify this. It's just a subset of the C major scale. We call that pentatonics just because they have 5 notes, C, D, E, A, G, C, D, E, A, G, A, C, D, E, G, A, okay. Those of you who know Chinese traditional music, this is a very widely used scale. And now just hear it in comparison with the C major scale. It gives slightly different feeling, okay? So we just subtracted the notes. It should have the same feeling, but it doesn't. It's more specific feeling. Let's listen to it. Some kind of a sunny, some kind of a beautiful, okay? Now I want you to listen to this strange one. Does anybody here heard of Locrian scale? Oh, not so many experimenters around. Let's listen to this one. Ooh, now this is some questioning, some danger approaching. It's something that is unresolved and very tense, okay? Now this scale is not widely used. It's used only in, let's say, jazz music and weirder kinds of music, okay? But we need to know that this configuration of notes that we pick have a certain feeling, okay? Now let's see where do these names come from? Just a short thing, you don't need to memorize these names or anything, okay? Names of the scales come from the intervals contained in the scale. What intervals? The interval from the bass note that we picked, okay? I've shown you C scales. So the intervals from C contained in the scale, I have here two examples. The C major scale contains, now this is from that table, okay? Major second, major third, you don't need to worry about this. So why is the major scale and the minor scale different? They have only these three intervals, okay? So the difference between happy and sad is just picking some slightly different notes, just three of them, okay? And you have another picture of the scale. Now, what do we use scales for? Well, usually melodies that you hear in songs are picked from a certain scale, and they give that scale feeling. When we listen to a song, musicians listen to a song, you can listen to some melody and say, oh yeah, that's from major scale, that's from minor scale, because it gives us that feeling, okay? Now, what melody is? A melody is just a sequence of notes that is musically satisfying. Now, for you, computer science is very hard to define musically satisfying, right? But you have a common sense of what does that mean. We usually remember and hum the melody of the song. That's way more easier to remember, okay? Now, let's listen to a short melody. I don't know if you know this song, but let's give it a go. Okay, so this is the melody to Happy Birthday or Good Morning to All. Now let's see other things that happen besides the melody, because I said that when we listen to a melody, we remember and hum the melody, just the melody when we listen to a song, sorry. Yeah, we remember just that. But there are a lot of things underneath, and musicians really struggle to get that right, and you still hum just the melody. Let's see what is underneath those melody notes, okay? We call that harmony, and a building block of harmony is chords. Now, do you know what chords are? Well, it's simple as that. 3 or more notes, but sounded together. It's a very fancy name, okay? Chords. Now I'll give you the same examples as in scales. Let's listen to some chords, okay? C major chord. Well, if you pick C, E, and G, we got this pleasant sound, some kind of, well, too much heard, okay? Everybody plays the major sound and it has a lot of meanings. Now, the minor chord attracts a little bit of attention, okay? Let's play these one by one. You can feel the transition, the strange one. Now I've added a note and I've changed these things up. C diminished chord. That can express a lot, right? For example, if somebody is in a movie in a forest and he's walking there and he suddenly stops because he heard something and he turns around and then you hear this chord, okay? Now, if I had a presenter, I could do that. What happened here, okay? So they can convey very complex and specific functions. That's why I love music. Now, the following chord is a major chord, but I added a note to it. Why? Because I want to express the idea that if you pick, for example, just 3 notes, it's a more, how should I say that? General sense of well-being, okay, in case of a major chord. A general sense of happiness. You can use that chord to bang on it like that, and you can imagine a kid going to the candy store, buying his candy, coming home and eating it, okay? But this chord, for example, because I added just 1 note, let's listen to it. Let's listen again. This has a more deeper sense of happiness. When you play that, you kind of start thinking about the good things that you did in your life, but you won't use that to illustrate a kid going to the candy store, right? Because it has a more specific meaning. So that's how I particularly play with chords. I add some notes until I express or convey the picture or whatever I want to convey through that musical message. So now we need to take into account that chords have a character, but when we put a lot of chords in sequence, then it becomes more complex. So we're going to talk about chord progressions. Now most songs are made up of sections that have a repeated chord sequence, okay? Let's listen to these chord sequences. C major, F major, G major, F major. You will be hearing that all the time. Copacabana beach, some palms, coconut. Okay? It works. But now, let's try this one, C minor to A minor. This draws a lot of attention and tension. It's kind of, it announces that something bad is going to happen, right? Now, this is an example that I added just from my, just to tell you a short story. Who has heard about Joe Satriani? Yeah. Just one guy? Very good. Okay, it's okay. It's just my favorite guitar player. Now, he had a song that was named Flying in a Blue Dream, and he used a chord progression very similar to this example. Now, I couldn't imagine myself like flying, you know, in a blue dream and everything, but this made a perfect sense for me in walking dizzy in a dream. And I saw, well, this is a very clear painting and I could give details, right? So I'm just there, everything is foggy blue, and I'm walking, I do not really know what I'm doing. And then in my bed I'm turning because it's a very bad dream that I don't know, I know nothing about it, okay? So it's a very strange feeling with a lot of details expressed with some musical notes. That's what captured my attention to these chord progressions, and that's what I like to study. I like to listen to different things and imagine some clear pictures, okay? So we can use just two chords and put a title because, yeah, it's hard to suggest without, okay? We put a title, Walking Strange in a Dream, for example. And then maybe to some listeners that made sense. For those of you who not, perfect, you have another imagination and you create other pictures, okay? So, as I said, chords are the building blocks of harmony. What is harmony? Harmony is a combination of simultaneously sounded notes. Now, it's the same definition as chords, obviously, right? This is the definition of harmony because chord is a harmony in itself. But when we talk about the harmony of a song, we talk about everything that is played besides the melody. So we listen to the melody, we remember the melody, but there are a lot of things going down that we do not listen to. We refer to it as, let's say, background, okay? Or the harmony of the song. So let's listen to a harmony and then tell me if you can recall that song, if you know what song it is based just on the harmony, right? This is going to be interesting. Now, not you musicians, I know, the other guys. Do you know what song is this from? Not musicians. Have you ever heard that? You may say that is a new thing, right? Just a new, some notes played. Now let me add the melody. You never listen to that part, do you? And the composer tried to add those things in, right? Now that's why it's called harmony, obviously, because if it was obvious, then it was not in harmony with the melody, right? The harmony is there to support the melody. Now, there are some complex relationships going. So we pick a chord that has a specific image, but with it we can create progressions that have a very, more detailed image. And then we put that in the harmony. But then we have the melody, and the melody changes the meaning of the harmony, okay? It changes its feelings. If we keep that melody and we change the harmony, it changes the melody's feelings. So all these things interact and are somehow related, but when you play music for some time, you kind of get the rules or how to play with these things so that you can create a song that makes you feel happy, makes you feel like dancing, okay? So these are a couple of the building blocks. Now, what do we add? We have talked about musical instruments. Obviously, somebody got to sing, right? So what is singing? Well, this is not a definition that I should show to you, but it's the act of producing musical notes. Now, because a lot of research is done into the singing versus speech part, Prof. Wang asked me to present some differences, okay? Now, let's see the differences between singing and speech. You may have not thought of this. The first one, obviously, is the use of musical tonality. Now I'm going to say that again. ha, 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 ha. Okay? And one more time. Ha, 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 ha. Now these pitches that I produce are not musical notes, okay? Are just pulling up and down the voice as to you to convey a meaning, okay? Now the use of rhythm. Obviously I create my rhythm while I speak so that you can understand what I'm saying. Now singers do not do that. They need to fit on the music pieces, on the song's rhythm. That's why you have all these misheard lyrics things on YouTube, because they're not intelligible, right? Slightly different use of vocal apparatus. For those who sing, you know that you do all these exercises to breathe like from the diaphragm. I don't know these terms because I do not sing, right? So it's another slightly different type of breathing, and because of that, singing is usually louder, so we have a wider dynamic range. Okay, this is another important difference. And of course, intelligibility is somehow sacrificed for the aspect of music. It needs to fit well there in the song. Now, lyrics are also important in conveying the message, right? Sometimes they're the most important. We can pick some chords, for example, C minor to A minor, that strange thing, but lyrics, and we will feel like strange and sad, but then lyrics come and say, oh, I'm heartbroken, my girlfriend left me, I have no money, I have to pay the debts to the bank, right? So only the lyrics can convey a more specific message. That's why we can compose a lot of songs. So another thing to point out is song sections. Why? You should know these: intro, verse, bridge, chorus. Because some song forms may be more popular to a genre, so we can classify them, okay? It's more easier to, let's say, identify a genre of a musical piece if we are able to programmatically find these parts, okay? The form of the song, like verse, chorus, chorus, verse, maybe, I don't know, popular, a pop song, and maybe the country has another form, okay? So let's analyze some songs. Now, these I have them, I need to manually. Do you know this song, Katrina and the Waves? Oh, there it is. Do you know that? Who knows that? Yeah, it's good, it's good. So let's see why this song is like that, okay? Well, it's a happy song, right? It feels happy, it has major chords, major harmony. It is an up tempo, okay? Very moving tempo. The lyrics come in and tell us to imagine that we're walking and it's a sunshine, right? So these tiny little pieces are very well thought of, okay? These trumpets there, that they're not in the verse, they're in the chorus. All these instruments, the little distorted guitar is there for this reason, to feel more energetic, because a clean guitar wouldn't work as well, okay? So these are a couple of things to note about this song. Ooh, this is so low volume. Okay. Let's see what I had next here. Do you know this song, Toni Braxton? This is the best example for... Let me find it first. Oh, it was... Ah, yeah. I didn't write the artist first. These are just downloaded from YouTube. Ah. Do you know this song? Who knows this song and has listened to it and to lyrics and stuff? So this is a very peaceful kind of song, but sad, okay? It makes me want to send down, really. Now, it is from a minor key. It has minor chords, minor notes. Okay, the melodies contours very well the minor part. The lyrics are sad. Break my heart. And the tempo is slow, okay? It's very... Really, I need to speak... I need to lower my voice because it gives me this kind of... So these are elements that they thought of, okay? Maybe first they came up with the lyrics and say, oh, we need a melody to support that. Now let's try to make it slow. Let's try to make it powerful for the heart, okay? So that we start to cry maybe. Even if we had that experience now, it will work. So let's see a song that I like to categorize it as being functional. I love Michael Jackson, but this is a song just to dance. I mean, I don't really pay attention to the lyrics and all, you know? Personally, yeah, it's just a personal experience. Now, I really think Michael Jackson is a genius, right? Now, why is this song danceable? Let me bring the volume lower a bit. The rhythmic part is composed of many little things, okay? It's that guitar, it's the beat that is a little bit complicated with kick drums and snares, so it keeps us moving all the time, okay? The earlier song that I pointed to had a very simple rhythm, so that it lets you it accords you time to breathe and to think about it, okay? Now this is very busy rhythmic part, and that's why, in my opinion, that's why it's danceable, okay? Okay. Now, let's go to the opposite corner of the world. Where did I put that? You know this song? Now this is a song that makes you sit down, yeah, and lay on the back and put your hands like that, and think about the beautiful things that you have encountered in your life, right? It doesn't have a complicated rhythm. It has only these small violins, okay? And everything is with a lot of echo and effects, and it sounds like an epic song, right? So this is just different application of music. They thought of the chords, they thought of the effects. It wouldn't work if the song did not have this quantity of effects, okay? It wouldn't be an epic song. It would be like just a small violin playing there by itself, so it wouldn't quite work. And another one, this is just for me basically. I'm being a little selfish on my first lecture. By the way, I didn't hold another lecture till now. Yeah, thanks, Windows. I love you. Oh. Okay, now you know this song, right? I don't know if I have internet access to play it for you, but you know that song. Well, it's very powerful. It has a distorted guitar. It makes you kind of, if you have a lot of energy, you may want to listen to this song because you really will get rid of it, okay? You can work on it. You can go and put some heavy weights and lift them to the tempo, okay? Dum, ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum, okay? So it has slightly different purpose, should I say. Good, so we have talked about all these little things that musicians use to create. Now the problem is that all these little things that I've told you, they're not quite well identified now by algorithms, okay? We can't know what scale is, we can't know all these little things, chords, it's very hard, especially when you have a lot of instruments, okay? But let's think of applications that we might use that, because maybe you are the ones who will do some research and will find out the algorithms to figure all this stuff out. So then you will have the computer brain to think as a musician does, okay? So if we are able to extract these features, we can do, for example, music recommendation based on emotions, okay? We can quantify, for example, we have used a minor scale, well, that counts maybe 20% to the mood of the song, okay? So we put all these in a formula and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, I don't know. Research needs to be done here. Now, these are the things that we would need: scale, chords, lyrics, the meaning of the semantics of the lyrics, okay? And rhythm and tempo are also important. Now, for automatic music transcription, I would love you guys to do that. I mean, I've been waiting to put my MP3 and get my score and start playing the piece. Now, this is very hard to do. First, we need to identify the meter because as I told you, it's for scoring purposes, the way you break up the score. You need to have a very exact identification of rhythm, okay? Tempo, well, tempo is very easy to do nowadays. If it's stable. If it's not stable, I don't know how well it is. Now we can do another interesting thing, recognize the artist. If we have a good enough algorithm to isolate the vocals from the background, how much time do I have? 12:49. Okay, I can talk a little about this. For example, when we record a band, we usually place the vocals in the center, okay? But the instruments are panoramated around. So if we invert the phase of one channel, the left, okay, and then we add it to the right, because it contains the same amount of vocals, the vocals will go out, right? Then we can take this, invert the phase again and add it to the song, and we will be left just with the vocals, okay? And a little bit of instruments. We cannot do that perfectly. So if we find a method to perfectly extract the voice, then do a very good timbral analysis, we can know the artist, okay? We can know who plays what song automatically without needing a database. Well, you need a database of timbre analysis, but that's all. You don't need a database of sounds. Like, how's that called? That app, Songster? No, sorry? Soundhound or whatever. I was searching for Shazam. Yeah, that's the one I was looking for. And of course, classifying the songs. Now, this may come in useful for those of you who are musicians and who happen to pass by these bars where DJs mixes and they put a song with a key that is a half step higher and they mix them all together and then they let you listen to that. God, that is awful. If they had this information written on the piece of paper, oh, there will be much, and you say to them, please mix only with related keys, okay? It's from C, you can mix with G, with F, but do not put C sharp because my ears are hurting, okay? This was just for musicians. I'm sure that it's hard to understand now, okay? So this will be very good to see what scales are used within some songs, what genre, okay, and all of this stuff. So this is just, of course, there are a lot more applications, but this is what I could think of for now. And now for further topics, you should think about these things. Key of the song. I didn't want to go into the key of the song because I've seen from the forms that you completed that almost half of you are not musicians, and it's a very tough thing to explain. How do you get the key of the song? Musicians should know that to identify the key is a very subjective thing. You know, you just need to play, and the definition is that you have a feeling of home. So you won't get that so easy. I mean, you need some practice to understand what they're talking about. But the key of the song may be important. The key changes also should be important, okay? Dynamics. Well, when you have an instrument and you play loud notes, okay, and then very little tiny notes there, you're going to create some dynamics to a sound that convey a meaning and a feeling, okay? If we are able to quantify that, it would be great because we can extract more information about the song. And this is one point that I touched a little bit on Enya, for example. If you have a lot of echo and reverb, it's very possible to be a song that makes you think, feel, sit down, okay? And if you do not have it, if it's a dry song, that it may have very rapid, fast sounds, okay, that makes you dance and stuff. So this is another thing that could be analyzed. This is all the things that I thought about for now. So please, if you have questions, because I've covered them very briefly, these are all the topics that I've talked about. So please ask me whatever. And after these questions, you can ask me anything unrelated to this. Yeah.
So in one of the sections, you
Yeah.
show us a few examples of how rock rhythm is like, how blue rhythm is like.
Yeah.
I just wonder, because rhythm is defined by the pattern itself,
Yeah.
if I change the tempo of it, will it sound different? Because
Yeah, of course. Blues is played at a slow tempo because these are very related. See, these are linked. I mean, the tempo and the rhythm, the tempo affects the rhythm. I mean, you can create a configuration of drums, but if you play it on a lower tempo, you may think that it's from a blues song, and if you play it on a faster tempo, you may feel that it's from a rock song. Okay, so these thing goes, there are very strong relationships there. So yeah, the tempo matters, the configuration of drums matters, everything matters.
Okay, that answers. And then another thing, so we talk about fundamental frequencies and their harmonics. So how the way we define, we identify fundamental frequency is that it is the lowest.
Yeah, the lowest harmonic present there. is the lowest peak that you will observe in a piano. So when you will play a 440 on the piano, you will not get anything lower than 440. Okay.
Right, so if we create some sort of artificial wave shape where it doesn't really resemble a real life instrument, how would like human brains identify
I would love to have my sound interface and to demo that for you now. You haven't played with any synthesizers like sine waves, triangle waves, square waves, right? It's kind of tough to explain. Well, if you are able to really mimic this shape of the timbre, you may come out with a very... Oh, let me give you this thing. Where is my... No, it's because of the resolution, guys. I should have some mids somewhere. Yeah, I don't have them anymore. I had some MIDI files that I used for this whatever happy birthday thing, okay? You know, when you play the MIDI file, you hear a lot of instruments that are very crappy, right? These are synthesized instruments, so they... Do you know what MIDI is? Because I have a lot of time, so I can talk a little about MIDI. MIDI is a thing that musicians use very, very often, and is a way of, let's say, transcribing for the computer. What MIDI is not sound, okay? Very hard to draw now. For example, a MIDI message could mean this thing. I played the E key from the second octave. The note on was on this timestamp, okay? I pressed it on this timestamp. It held for this time, and then another timestamp that it stopped. So it's just the performance, okay? What musicians, it's just the keyboard without the sound, okay? That's a short thing of what MIDI is. Now, you can take this information and plug it through an algorithm that says, okay, generate me from this fundamental frequency, which I know, E2, for example, it's, I don't know, 100 hertz, don't know which one, okay? And then you say, from this fundamental frequency, create me the multiply it by 2, and the level should be this high in relation to that, and the third one should be with this high in relation to that, and that's how you probably synthesize a sound that may resemble a guitar, yeah, but it will be, you cannot do it as well as nature does it. So that's a short answer for you.
Right, so
very short.
Where the question come from, right? When you listen to some sort of electronic music,
yeah,
you will hear sound that you really can't tell the pitch. It's very weird. It's pure, that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, these, if you mean literally what you're saying now, pew, pew, now that is just a changing of a pitch, but you still perceive it, okay? Because you can hum it, ow, ow, okay? You still can hum it, you still can produce that sounds.
Yeah,
so there is a harmonic sound, but that goes, everything is translated somehow, okay, in frequency, right? But percussive sounds, the ones that you hear in, no, dubstep is not a good example. Percussive sounds that you hear are not harmonically related, okay? They have the energy spread across the bandwidth. So does that answer your question, or I didn't get it too right?
Yes.
Okay. Other questions, please? Whoa, I finished much more earlier than in my rehearsals. It should have taken me like an hour and a half, but it seems like I've been efficient thanks to you guys. And so, Professor Wang, what do you say? Should we let them go?
So I do have a question here.
Yep.
So did you guys enjoy Mike's talk today? Yes. Okay, fantastic.
Thank you so much.
So basically, until now, you guys can make a decision whether this quality is something for you or not. So another thing is that, and every year, I invite a different person to talk about the music theory. The very first person I invited is from India. It's my former student, Aaron Shannon. He was a very good music producer. And then I invited my former students from Singapore, and last year is Sam Fang from Harvard. And this year, we have Mike from Europe. So musicians, they are very fluid. They come and go. So Mike, in fact, he will leave us next month.
Yeah.
So let's give him another round of applause.
Thank you so much. Now, the thing is, a short story, for example. When I left my university to come here, it was the sound and music computing, and I thought, well, that's very easy to stand there with the guitar and fiddle with this. So, I want to program these. But when I saw how hard it is to do these things, I thought about, well, it's much more easier to play. So, it's a significant amount of difference in difficulty between just playing and conveying all these emotions and then trying to figure them out by code. Okay. When you start programming these Fourier stuff, well, I hope you will like it because that will make my life better. So.
Okay, don't worry. So about the frequency analysis thing and so on, we will have further lectures to talk about it. And then, as I said, what my intention is that this course is studied by me, and I wanted to make it as interactive as possible, as interesting as possible. I do not want you guys, half of you, after lunch, just to sleep in class. And that's why I actually suggested to the school, we should make this course as an elective. Only people who are interested in this should sit here. Otherwise, I don't want to waste your time here. Is that clear? Okay, great. So we will end today's lecture
Earlier. So thank you very much, guys, for attending. Hopefully we'll get much more interested in what artists do regarding the music. Hopefully some of you will learn an instrument or anything.
Oh, another question. Has anybody not yet visited our
I wanted to ask that, yeah.
yes, the soundproof recording studio? Can you please raise your hand? Okay. We can have
a special session for those who haven't visited the audio lab,
last
recording studio.
Yes,
last week.
All right, that's it for today.
So thank you guys, and always listen to good music, okay?
All right.